for the Rotary Club. So, hey, welcome back. We are live again. Oh, wow. It's been, we missed our first week last week.
Yeah, our first hiccup, but we're good. We're good. We're good.
We're
We're good.
good.
So
We're
far, so
back
good.
on.
Mm.
Um, and part of it, maybe you can tell me a little bit of that past week. I know we ended up missing doing the show
Yeah, we
because
had
of
a
our
we,
blackout.
we had a blackout which turned out to be nationwide,
Wow.
and that really tells you a lot about our infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you are in 2023 and we have such kind of a catastrophic failure,
Mm.
tells you a lot about where our taxes are going. Power
Yeah.
supply systems. See, what
Uh,
if somebody is having an operation or some sort of procedure that requires power? What happens? Or if you are in
correct.
the middle of a very sensitive business call in international, then
Yeah.
something like that happens. It really paints you in a very disorganized manner. So
And I wonder what was the cause of it? What did they say the cause? I mean, for us to have a nationwide blackout, and I mean, we are lucky
there
we're in
was no.
Africa where we don't have these adverse weather effects. Places like the US where you have tornadoes and all these extreme
The moment
weather
the power
events.
came back, they
Mm.
it was nothing. They said nothing. I never got any kind of.
Just see
So
how they treat their customers.
yeah, it's like this power is being given free. Power Yamsada.
And you're paying for it, and they don't take a moment to apologize. They don't take a moment to explain the cause. Oh my goodness, that's crazy.
But it's a reflection of our general. Sharif Mustafa is here, our ever
uh,
present.
yeah,
Uh,
Sheriff,
welcome
wherever
on
you
board.
are, have a beer on me.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Wa-
Sharif
wa-
drinks, but
Once we start minting millions, this guy should be part of our
should be
shareholder team.
a shareholder.
Mm.
Thank you very much.
Honorary shareholder with his own account. So what I was saying is that it really points towards our general service quality. You notice that there was a time I was in somewhere in Karen.
Hmm.
It was during the COVID time.
Hmm.
So we were looking for somewhere to sit, and there was this open door, open air restaurant of some sorts. It was
Hmm.
not active, so we just went there and sat and started talking. Then this waiter comes to us and tells us that the management does not allow people to sit there when the place is not active. But he was explained in such a courteous manner. We were actually impressed. So I asked my friend, is he behaving this way because this place is normally frequented by Wazungus or not?
Mm,
And look at the kind of services that are tailor-made for Caucasians compared to the
mm,
ones that
mm,
serve the ordinary Kenyan. There's a
mm.
very stark difference. And now, what we call high class in developed countries, it's normal.
It's normal.
It's normal. And then we normally sell ourselves so low. Uh, in fact, I think we are being taken for a ride. For example, uh, a normal Kenyan or a normal black African would take a place like KFC to be a very high end place.
Mm,
What they are offering is simply chicken that is soaked in some sort of paste, then it is fried. Then
mm,
they serve you the potatoes. The
mm.
only thing they have that is outstanding is the interior design, warm ambience.
Yeah.
But the crux of the matter is the chicken and potatoes. We don't have chicken, we don't have potatoes.
And I
So,
mean, the food actually there is not healthy. If you
yeah,
are to go further, I mean, that's KFC is like the last place you should go to eat because one, it's fast food. Two, if you had to look at the chicken itself, it's not organic. It's reared in these commercial farms. Um, Everything there is processed. Everything
but
there is. If
and
you are
we
to
see
eat
it.
that food on a regular basis, you're just it's a ticket to high blood pressure, diabetes, all these
You might as well
lifestyle skills.
buy a casket in advance if you're eating there
Exactly,
daily.
exactly. Just go
But
ahead and kill
because
yourself.
of our selling ourselves low, selling ourselves short, everything, we think that is a very high end
Mm.
establishment and whatnot. Yet it's only chicken and potatoes, which we can cook our own chicken and potatoes in a very healthy way.
Yeah.
You can establish a place that serves stewed chicken and steamed potatoes. The only thing we need to do is simply make the ambience look better. Only because the only
Yes.
thing KFC is selling you is the ambience.
Yeah.
So I
Nothing
used to
else.
think that there's something called the concept of normalizing high standards.
Hmm.
If you can go to a place like Kayole, Gidurai, and set up a place that has the ambience of KFC and sell at normal Gidurai prices, it will debunk this myth that those are high end places.
No, that's
You,
true. I
you
mean,
just
we
need
definitely.
a businessman who will have this notion of saying we want to normalize high standards because as human
Yes.
beings we deserve high standards. No one, those vibandas and whatnot, that is simply a failed mental logic because interior design is not all that expensive. You can do your own interior design, you can buy your own materials and do your own interior design. The only thing these hotels, these so-called posh hotels, have over the rest of the stuff is the interior. But in terms of food and whatnot, it's just the same food. Only that the hotel has nice interiors, they have those funny ceramic plates and whatnot, and the kibanda will serve you in a plastic plate, in a
Mm.
mabati thing. But if we have a type of investor who will say, listen, the only thing we are having is we are not selling the experience. Kenyan businesses sell products, they sell services, they don't sell the experience.
Mm.
Best business people sell experience that why should I go back there? That is why somebody will want to go to trek tea at Villarosa Kempinski, but it's the same tea leaves, same milk, same
Exactly.
sugar. But the Kempinski people have put in an experience, all
Exactly.
right? And most of the time is that warm white color. And when you go to a supermarket, you can get warm white wallpaper. You can get
Exactly.
warm white bulbs. You can invest in nice looking tiles and then buy those ceramic plates. And don't you have a high end establishment?
You do, and I mean
Yes.
that's what makes the difference between the
Mm.
tea you'd buy from another restaurant to the one that you'd buy at Kempinski.
Yeah.
Kempinski will charge you at
Yes.
500 shillings, the other one will charge at
Yes.
50 shillings. It's all
Majority
part
of
of how
Kenyan,
you package that
the
whole
majority,
entire
yeah,
experience.
yes, the majority of Kenyan businessmen, business systems, especially those serving the local Mwananchi, are only serving the goods. They're only they're selling goods. They are not selling the experience. And those
Mm.
that deal with the Caucasians or the foreigners are only doing so because if they don't do so, those foreigners will go their own way. They are actually playing to the tune of the standards of the white people.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
But
and it's good you've raised that point. You're calling normalizing, what did you call
high
it?
standards.
Normalizing high standards.
Mm.
I mean, one of the reasons why our neighborhoods, if you go to some of the neighborhoods in Nairobi, the reason why they are dirty is we normalized mediocre and dirty environments. And when somebody puts something nice, then we think it's like we are lucky to have them there. I mean, if all the standards were that uniform, and it goes back to that thing that, do we really love ourselves?
Yes.
Do we really desire the best for ourselves? We've said it here before. Most of our government officials travel to places in Europe or America, and they experience a good lifestyle, which they can easily be able to implement for us if it is good roads, good public transportation, clean cities. They see it all there, but yet for some reason they'll only take good photos and never learn anything from that experience. I mean, the whole idea is then to come and implement some of that here. I mean, when when do we begin loving ourselves enough to desire the best for ourselves, to put the best public infrastructure? I mean, why did Kenya Power have a complete nationwide blackout? There was no weather issue that caused it. We don't know what might have caused it. What are the redundancies that they have put in place to ensure this doesn't occur again? I mean, we've suffered a lot of these nationwide blackouts before, um, but it seemed like you're not learning from them. I think the last one we got, we had there were monkeys that were dancing along the lines. I don't know how true that was. Uh, I mean, it just seems to get worse. Is it that we don't know how to manage ourselves? Is it that we don't know how to manage our resources?
It's self hatred, and we call it selling yourself at a very low price.
Hmm.
And at the end of the day, as I said some time back, um, there's something called inertia. The current leadership is at peace with the current mentality of the electorate. The Kenyan electorate does not demand much from the leadership. We'll
Hmm.
just cry here and there because the price of unga is low. We'll cry, oh, what. But generally, the Kenyan electorate practically has no idea what it wants. We are lost. We are the
Hmm.
best. We are actually the most fitting, the most compatible component with the current electorate. They fit us. They belong
Hmm.
to us. We belong to them, and that is why do you think this is something I raised some time back before? We've been having issues with the cartels. Why do you think no one in government, in whatever government, has ever said, okay, look, why don't we empower farmers to have their own silos and maize mill systems? They'll
Hmm.
become empowered. They will not be at the mercy of the government. They'll not be at the mercy of the politician. No, no leader wants that. No Kenyan leader wants that. Yeah. I was talking to a friend about this idea. People in Mombasa were complaining, oh, the SGR has made the port useless. And what? Listen, I said, you don't need to rely on the port. What you
Hmm.
need is the county government to encourage some of those billionaire tycoons of Mombasa to
Hmm.
fly to China, go to the headquarters of Techno,
Hmm.
ask for the sales volume. How much Techno phones do they sell to East Africa in 1 year? Then they tell them, listen, we're going to give you one full year sales volume. Whatever you sell to East Africa in 1 year, we're going to give you that all that money at once on the following conditions. Bring us those phones in dismantled capacity. Give us 80% financing for a mobile phone and accessory uh, assembly unit in Mombasa, plus agency supply for East Africa region. They won't say no. Now, imagine the thousands of people who can get employed from such a job. You are
Hmm.
assembling phones that are going to be supplied for the entire East Africa region, Eastern Africa region for one full year, and you are placed as the official agent. In that, no longer will people have to go to Dubai or China to buy the electro. They have to just go to Mombasa. Imagine the value, how the value of Mombasa will fly through the sky. Imagine the number of people. Now, let's say a Techno manufacturing facility will employ, say, 4,000 people in Mombasa. Once you employ 4,000 people, where do you get hecklers?
Exactly.
Where do you get stone throwers?
There are no
Where do,
idlers.
where do you get people to line up to give them 100 shilling handouts? They are busy working. And a working a population. Now imagine, especially the electronics engineer, all varieties. It will create a very powerful ecosystem because not just assembly, there's logistics, there's the
Mhm.
marketing and
Mhm.
supply of materials from all over. It will be People will be so busy.
Mm.
Right now, we are having rallies stuck in the middle of a working day. Somebody from, I don't know, China or Asia was asking, where are you getting these people from? For heaven's sake, it's on a Wednesday. Where are these crowds coming from? So, if you have such a facility, and you know very well, the tendency of business is to be competitive.
Mm.
If Techno have such a facility in Mombasa, what is preventing Samsung, Nokia, Alcatel from now chasing that deal? Because once they start getting assembled in Kenya, their price will be lower. Then all of a sudden we'll say, hey, listen, an executive from Samsung will tell you, listen, our high-end products are being beaten by high-end products from Techno because they have a plant in Kenya. We are losing this market because our competitor has a plant there. Now imagine 5 years down the line, we have Techno, Alcatel, Samsung, Nokia, iPhone. Those are five companies with assembly lines in Mombasa. Those are over 30,000 jobs. So in your population of hecklers and idlers, you are minus 30,000. Which leader can accept that?
Yeah, and I think this actually segues very well to our next topic on the China Square that has been very contentious out there. And I mean, we've discussed the aspects of manufacturing before, and actually now looking at it, I think I was looking at some data the other day which showed literally our manufacturing has been going down year on year. We become an importation country. Actually, somebody was making one of the pundits in media was making the assessment. One of the reasons why, of course, you have this high dollar value that has gone up is because we are literally importing everything. There's nothing that we are exporting. If we look at the imbalances between export and imports, you know, the imports far outweigh the exports that we are sending to places like China and other parts of the world. I mean, is the government really serious on increasing our or expanding the manufacturing base? I mean, this seems to be such a no-brainer. Why can they think, even those people that import, is it better for them to import than to put up a factory in Kenya? Maybe it's probably easier to just send a ship over, sell them, make your cut, move on.
You see,
But
uh,
can the government even encourage them and tell them, guys, be the owners of these factories?
but
Let's
see,
negotiate how we can get
that
assembly
brings that
lines here in Kenya as opposed to doing imports.
That brings us back to the question as I was asking you. You need to ask ourselves: is the government comfortable with having an empowered population? You need to ask
Yeah,
yourself.
that's true.
Hmm. That is the
It's a good
question you need to
question.
ask
Yeah.
yourself. Is the government okay with us being empowered?
Mm,
Because the moment you are empowered, the more empowered you are, the more your capacity to put your leaders to task.
mm.
But if you are actually, as you said, disempowered, or you are at your desperate attempt, you're at your desperate level, what happens is you see the leader as a hero.
So it seems like the intention is to keep the masses as slaves,
Down, down, keep them down. Then when you are like towards the
concentrate the
electioneer,
power on a few.
then when you are the electioneering period, you
Mm,
can throw in two or three freebies here and there, repair a
mm.
couple of roads, give a subsidy on fuel, so that people say, hey, huyu jamaa ametusaidia sana bwana. The moment the electorate talks in terms of huyu jamaa ametusaidia, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. We don't need help. We need facilitation. We need someone from government coming to tell you, hey, Zero Bike, listen, we are tired of this Yamaha. What can we do for you to start
Exactly.
mass production today?
Yes.
We cannot rely, we've been relying on Yamaha and Honda for, you are enriching the Japanese.
Yeah, I mean they
But
would
no,
come and turbocharge
but
you
if
guys
we, mm,
and look at how far you've gone
mhm.
and say, let's help you. Let's put together the best artisans or craftsmen that
Mm.
we have out there for you now to, get the finished product out, and we begin the mass producing Zeo bikes.
But if you
And
start,
even the government can. This is where even policy now comes in, legislature comes in play, where they could start saying that, people who do delivery are now encouraged to use electric bikes as opposed to buying fossil fueled bikes. And immediately, what does that mean? They put a law like that. Everyone is changing from
and
gas powered to
they
now
also
electric.
give incentive if your
Mhm.
electric bike is
Give
locally
incentives.
manufactured, as
Exactly.
in,
Exactly.
compared to an import, you are some sort of advantage. But that will empower people, because if you have a plant that is employing, say, at minimum 200 people per day,
Yeah. Mhm.
that is in your figure of hecklers and stone throwers, you are minus 200 people.
So you can't afford to lose them.
And you
So
can't
so
afford to.
what's your take on China Square?
No, that is puniness of the Kenyan business system.
Mm,
No, who was, for starters, these Chinese guys, they simply brought the same products, but you see, I used to communicate with someone from Yutong, used to be a representative for, this is the biggest bus manufacturer in the world, it's called Yutong, Chinese. They said
mhm,
their method is minimum profit per unit sell, so that you have
mm.
lots of sales. So this guy looked at the products that are being sold in Kenya. There are imports, but the profit margins these guys were making, these Kenya business, was astronomical.
Exactly. Yes.
You can say,
How we
okay, I'm
overprice
going to bring
ourselves.
this very same product, sell them at a very low profit margin, but push volumes. Where is
Mhm.
the genius in that? Is there any genius there?
Nothing. Nothing.
Nothing, no
Nothing that
genius
that that,
there.
that the locals couldn't have done.
Eh, there's nothing genius. You we are actually being beaten. We approve this issue of the China Square, or simply you are being exposed to the fact that we don't have common sense.
Mhm.
We don't have common sense. Now, those people who are importing those things, you have to ask yourself, when you are doing the business of importation, how sustainable is it? Are you going to import for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? Are there any plans for manufacturing? Because stage one, you import for 5 years. Stage two, you start assembly. You bring them in dismantled, and you have some sort of a warehouse where you employ people to assemble them. Then stage three, now, after 15 years, you contact the company. Listen, we've been buying stuff from you guys for over 10 years. Why don't we have some sort of R&D partnership so that we have full manufacturing under your license?
Mhm.
Why do you think Tesla is being manufactured in China? Hmm?
Yeah.
Yeah,
They have,
Tesla.
they have definitely gotten certain benefits there
Hmm.
that that enable them to station there. I heard also now Elon Musk is gonna put up a gigafactory in Mexico.
Yeah,
I mean, it's all about being creative about how you attract these guys.
yes. It is
I
simply
bet
puniness.
Mexico didn't even have to put up any single cent. All they had to do is
Hmm.
figure out what will attract Elon Musk to come and set up a gigafactory in Mexico. Do we need to give him some rebates? Do we need to give him some free land? What kind of other incentives can we add on there? Can we also call on other business partners, local business partners, to partner in with him? And government can facilitate all this. It is just a connector. Yes, let's call one of our biggest tycoons. There's a business opportunity here for you. Come in, partner with Elon Musk. We'll give you guys free land. We'll give you guys some tax rebates. You'll be operating tax free for the next 5 years.
Yes.
Before, by that time, hopefully you'll have now begun to, break even. And after that, thousands of people are hired just by the drop of a hat. And it's such simple things. I mean, I
Yeah.
hear,
So
and in this case, I was actually in agreement with Moses Kuria. I mean, if at all he was genuine in his assessment, or in his the reason why he was opposed to China Square, because his position was China Square shouldn't be there. What we should be having is manufacturers. We can encourage those manufacturers to be assembling or manufacturing their items locally here in Kenya. I mean,
but
the Nyamakima guys also need to figure out how they can organize themselves like the way China Square was. I mean, they could. I would imagine China Square actually, literally, that mall. I remember passing through that mall one time, and it was a ghost town a few years back. I bet just by having them as an anchor tenant has revived that mall and the areas around there. So there has been, of course, a ripple effect, or rather an overflow from China Square to the other businesses that are there. It's a single business, but it has revived business in that vicinity.
you see, that's why I call it business puniness. You find somebody has been importing and selling goods for 10 years. You ask them, what is the long term goal?
Mhm.
Because the problem with importing finished goods, you are so much, what do I call it? You are at the mercy of fluctuation of the dollar. The dollar has just fluctuate upward by a few cents, and everything goes haywire. So you ask yourself as a businessman, for how long are you going to engage uh, in import business? Import
Mm.
business is not a long time sustainable enterprise. It's
Those
not.
are not even real businessmen.
Eh,
These are the people we are calling entrepreneurs. I
eh,
bet none of them has ever established and grown a business. They'll
yeah.
just go to government will tell them, oh yes, we want to bring in X amount of what? Whatever the item is. Who can give us that? They give
Or
that to one
maybe
of their
we
cronies.
need, for these sort of government buildings, we need electric kettles for the kitchens. We-
Yes.
You run to China, you look for the cheapest, lowest quality component, you bring it here. Within 1 month, they have all blown up. Late
Yeah,
engineer, the
exactly,
same
exactly.
over and over, and you can't call yourself a businessman. So how do you define your business expansion? Because if you are importing for 5 years, what about the next 5 years? What happens? Because it should be import, for starters. If let's say there are issues of capital, import, assembly, manufacture. It's called import assembly, then what you call licensed manufacture. You now have the R&D data, you have get licensing to manufacture it local because you have the sales volume.
Mm.
Then more R&D, you get another aspect, and you sort of start building your own brand. You move on from there.
Yeah. Oh
But
my goodness.
the aspect of generally, I think the way we do business is a reflection of ourselves. Yeah.
Yes, the ethics
the,
we
the,
hold,
the
the
way we do.
values,
Yeah,
all
because
that.
there's a time I was asking someone. We have places like ABSA, this bank, Standard
Mhm,
Chartered, and other multinational banks and whatnot.
mhm,
I was asking myself, a bank can open a branch in Europe.
mhm,
How come I've never seen a Kenyan bank even getting to Nigeria or
mhm,
sub-Saharan, some part of sub-Saharan Africa?
mhm.
This is the
I
question I
mean,
was asking ourselves.
yeah, we
We
do
even
have.
have we even have expatriates,
Mhm,
people coming here to run departments. I've
mm,
never heard of an African being poached to go to work in Europe. Are our standards that low? That's the question. Because we talk of globalization, but you're the one doing the importing. It's like uh, you see, when it comes to, let's say, matters, intimacy. You brag of how many women you have banged. You cannot be a woman, then you brag at how many men have banged you. So you cannot be here talk of globalization and other business entities are encroaching into our region. We're not encroaching into there. So what globalization are we talking about?
Yeah.
Not a
No, I mean,
single business entity,
mm,
a native business entity has spread its wings beyond Eastern Africa, leave alone Europe. Egypt, hatujulikani. Even Rwanda, is there any major business that has actually grown into Rwanda, apart from I don't know what equity or what not?
yeah, the banks, no doubt, the Kenyan banks have spread their wings across Eastern Central Africa.
Mm,
The recent
mm,
acquisition of a major bank here actually in Rwanda. It was actually the
mm,
second largest bank.
mm.
Equity, KCB,
Yeah.
I&M all have a major footprint here. The
Mm.
banks have been a major export. I mean, also in talent wise, I would also say Kenya, we've exported a lot of our talent across the board. I mean, the current CEO of Safaricom came from Diageo, and he was based out of Europe. And I mean, I think there are a number of them. But I mean,
This CEO who's here and money is disappearing.
exactly. This lousy
That
guy
one.
who has messed us up. I mean, Safaricom seems to be deteriorating. The stories I'm hearing of people losing money, the scam artist seems to be growing much more in Safaricom. I mean, I don't see the guy surviving. Actually, the word on the street is on his last few days. There's rumors that Oigara might be taken over. We don't
Well,
know.
that is puniness for us, and
Yeah,
as much as I have no issues with companies like Safaricom, but I would have been more impressed if manufacturing technology companies were more on the forefront.
exactly. I mean,
Yeah,
service sector does
mm,
not employ as much as manufacturing, and it
yeah,
doesn't have that impact
yeah.
economic wise in terms of what it brings in,
Mm.
like manufacturing.
Yeah,
That's 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 that's
and I'm
the,
thinking
that's
about
the place where we need
mm,
to invest in. I mean, and I was actually, when government is saying, when you hear Moses Kuria is talking of, yes, he wants to see how we can establish um, local manufacturing here. But how are you doing that when you're on the other end of it, increasing power cost? I mean, there was something here that Sharif Mustafa was alluding to with regards to the high production cost. So if we are saying we want to have these companies setting up assembly facilities here, then on that end, we should be preparing the groundwork by having good and reliable powers, and it should be cost effective, because there's no way I'm going to pay so much in between getting power cuts, having to rely on generators. Definitely, the item that I'll produce will be far much expensive than what I can bring in. And actually, this issue of importation has gone further. I've heard that even some of the cooking oil companies, apparently, what they have been doing is they have been buying their material bulk from places like Egypt. Then they repackage it and then call it made in Kenya.
but that has been happening. You didn't know.
I didn't know about it. I mean, I read it the other
That's
day when
normal.
Moses Kuria had called those the Bidcos and others. I don't know if Bidco
That's
is part
normal.
of
They bring it. Then
it.
most of the time they bring it when it is in crude form.
Mm,
Then they refine it here. So there's no way Kenyan, when you hear like sunflower seed oil, where
yes.
sunflowers grow in Kenya in such a huge quantity
Mm.
that it can support a refining unit, they come from outside. That means
Man.
our agriculture system also is so limited.
Exactly. I mean,
Mm,
agriculture is the other thing. I mean, we know that things like eggs and a host of other. Here now, all the onions that are in the market in Kenya from Tanzania. I hear all the eggs that we are consuming in Kenya are said to be from Uganda. I mean, is there anything that we are producing for ourselves? Have we just become a consumption country that is importing virtually everything? I mean, these are just basic things. We should be able to put up the farms to grow uh,
But then again,
onions
also,
and all these things. It's like we can't now even feed ourselves.
then again, also I call it Kenyan business systems are, are quite puny
Mm,
because we do not want to adapt. If I'm seated somewhere and I'm realizing that my my raw product, which is say eggs,
mhm,
they am being beaten in terms of pricing by
mhm,
Ugandan product, why don't I add value to my product?
mm,
Why don't I start as a small cottage industry within my region that consumes eggs as a raw material?
mm,
Eh? I once shared with someone on on Twitter about some baked product whose main binding material is raw eggs.
mm.
Yeah. Take that line, add value to your product.
Add value to your product.
Add value to that. It was some sort of yeah, it was a vegetable burger. A burger
Okay.
that is made of a slew of vegetables and it's called nan beef burger.
Mm,
Doesn't have any meat, just a slew of vegetables, spices, some bit of salt. Then the binding material is the raw egg, made very nicely. So you are adding value to your product because it has already been established that the system is working against you. And a product with added value is going to be sought after. It's about
yes.
sitting down, coming up with recipes and whatnot. You cannot, because up till when are you going to cry about uh, the system? It is also important to adapt. So many of these products that are made from the farm can be value added at cottage industry level. We're not doing that. You've already established that when you take your eggs to the market, the brokers are going to mess you up. But if you take some money somewhere, put around some and set up a small, nicely set up industrial kitchen, produce it top of the line. They are called yeah, that word is patties. The meat that is placed between burgers is called a patty.
Mm. Yeah,
So
patty.
the normal one is called a beef patty. This is a
Mm.
vegetable patty. And to make
Ah,
it
okay.
more natural, the binder is normally egg.
Component is eggs, eh?
The raw egg is the binding unit, binding substance. So it's about just making, adding value. Set up a nice industrial. In fact, I sent someone a video for an industrial kitchen set up in a farm somewhere in Europe, whereby
Mm,
they have the eggs, then they make that product. What you need to do, you take it to a hotel, it is tested, and they say, listen, there's nothing that appeals to the man at primal level than food. They tell you, we've never tested something like this before. How can you supply 100 of them tomorrow morning for breakfast? Have you not added value? So that inability to add value to your product is causing problems. When you look at things like the Mexicans have the tortillas,
mm.
a tortilla is something like a chapati made from maize flour.
Maize
Then
flour.
then it's packed with all manner of stuff.
Yeah.
And what is a tortilla made? That is maize flour. So what is preventing you from having a small portion mill in your 3 acre farm, and you are churning out tortillas like nobody's business?
Exactly.
Huh? Because we have to adapt. One of the hallmarks of being human is adaptation. That's why lions will be in Masai Mara, polar bears in North Pole. A polar
Hmm.
bear can't survive in Masai Mara, but you have people in Masai Mara and in North Pole.
Mm.
Adaptation. So why are we not adapting?
Adaptation.
I normally say, as much as we have very horrid garments coming in, year out, why can't we adapt? Why can't we come up with a product that is in so much demand? It doesn't matter which government is in power. I normally I like the using the word complex, like the
Mm.
American military complex. They normally say
Industrial
governments
complex.
are governments are transient, the military is forever. Governments are
Mm.
transient, but the need to eat is forever.
Mm.
So repackage your product, give it more value. You may create a product such that you are in Ukambani, but your product is in so much demand in Kempinski or Hilton or Serena. So you navigate you away from those puniness. Oh, I don't know brokers. Oh, I don't. You navigate because utaimba brokers paka lini ndugu yangu. And those
Yeah,
brokers are the ones bankrolling your politicians. You're complaining
exactly.
about a broker, and this guy you're complaining about gave like 500 million shillings to the guy you voted for to bail you out.
Mm.
It's not making sense. So you have to adapt. How do I make this product have such a major value? People start looking for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think these are definitely some of the issues that we are contending. It gets sometimes even tiring discussing about them because the answers are so obvious, yet
Huh?
they
Like our
are
coffee.
so elusive
It
from
goes,
us.
our coffee goes abroad, then it comes back packaged like I don't know, dormant
Exactly.
and very nice packaging.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
what
yeah,
is preventing these people from designing such a package for their own products?
yeah. You even
Hmm?
saw with that lady who won Shark Tank, the Kenyan lady who won Shark Tank.
Hmm, hmm,
That coffee she's producing it, she's selling it locally. No,
hmm.
again, we are so much Western
Oriented.
aligned and
Hmm.
oriented that we forget that there's a market here.
Yeah, it's a
Yes,
market
maybe
here.
somebody could argue that the market is not as profitable as the one that you'd get, or it doesn't have that purchasing power.
Hmm.
But I mean, we need to build that market. We need to build um,
Okay, if it doesn't
that.
have if it doesn't have the purchasing power, do
Mm,
like the Chinese. Tone down the quality of your product to match the people.
exactly.
Why when you hear cheap Chinese people like Toyotas are normally cheaper than Mercedes, but for a long time they have been the number one selling car globally. Yeah, they want cheap coffee. Make cheap coffee.
And it's a good car. It's a good
Yeah,
car. Yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, I think let's wrap it up there. I mean, been a
Mm,
great discussion.
mm.
We've just gone into about 45 minutes, um, and I mean, it goes so fast. We just started now,
That
and
means the quality of the conversation is powerful.
it is, it is,
Mm,
it is,
mm,
and it's pertinent to us. I mean, it's something that we can all relate with. It's
mm,
some of these issues we are grappling with as a society, as a country.
mm.
Yeah. But with that, I think we'll bid you guys goodbye. We'll see you next Saturday. Another hot conversation will be going on our next live. Come in and participate in the conversation. Thanks a lot, my very able MVP, Brian Nguri Juma, coming all the way from Athi River in Kenya. And with that, we sign off.
Adios.
Adios, muchachos.